I wanted to read a statement that Todd had made right after he had gotten out of the hospital. Remember, Todd went out of the house, and I had said this before he went out of the house, and before, when he was put in the ambulance, was about 10-15 minutes after the house had started caught on fire. So in that time, instead of Todd trying to save the kids, which he wouldn't have, because that wasn't the reason he set the fire. But anyways, so when they put Todd in the ambulance, he told one of the EMS guys, and even made the statement that he tried to go in the room, save the girls, got a teddy bear, it wasn't them. Went outside, got the neighbors, and I think at one time he tried to say he tried to go back in. But he went into detail about being on that floor in the girls' room, feeling around, and it was so hot, and things were falling on him, and he couldn't find them, and he thought he found one because of the teddy bear and stuff. But he made this whole story up in a 10 or 15 minute time span, as the house is still on fire. And I know I've said this before, but so he gets in the ambulance, tells this crazy story, and who would even, if someone wasn't doing something like, who would come up with a story like that? If your house is on fire and your kids, I don't think the last thing you're going to do is come up with some crazy story because you don't want anybody to think you're a coward. And that's one thing I get too. Oh, because they didn't want Todd didn't want anyone to think he was a coward. That's why he made up this story. But Todd made this story up in less than 15 minutes when he set that house on fire. So let's think about that. Let's forget he thought he didn't want anybody to think he was a coward. He was something, and it wasn't a coward. But anyways, so he went to the hospital. He spent the night in the hospital. I was up there, and the next day, Todd's parents had come up to the hospital, and they were releasing Todd. So Eugenia and Jean took us. We were going to go, I get probably to my parents. I'm not quite sure where we were headed after the hospital. And Todd demanded to go to the house that had caught fire. He wanted to go, and we were like, no, we're not going to the house. So then he had told Gene, which is his father, that if you don't go by the house, I'll get out and I'll walk to the house. So we all go to the house because Todd said so. So then we're standing there, and me and Eugenia had decided not to go in the house. We were crying. We just, less than 24 hours, I just lost all my daughters. They lost their granddaughters. So we were up on the porch, and Todd and his dad had stepped in. The house wasn't the house. Well, me and Eugenia there was a screen door. We had that open, and we had stepped in the front. And when we did, Todd was coming down the hallway, taking a cologne and going like this over his shoulder, all the way down the hall to the front door, and then he made a right, which was into the girls' room, doing it. So I know Jean had said, boy, stop doing that. They're probably still investigating this. And then, so then we had left. And then for some reason that night, we went over there. I don't remember why. Todd was getting something. I do remember he had a box of something. So anyways, a fire marshal had showed up. And this is the statement that he had done. Todd had talked to him. It says, on December 27th, 1991, at approximately 1500 hours, while assisting Fire Marshal James Palos at West 11th Avenue, I was asked to escort Cameron Todd Willingham inside the residence, which had been involved in a fire on December 23rd, 1991. While walking through the structure, Mr. Willingham made the following statements. We entered the room in which the twin girls were found dead. Mr. Willingham made comments about the baby bed springs being in the same location as before the fire. He asked me if I had any idea as to how or who or where the fire started, to which I replied no. He then stated, I think the fire started over there. He pointed to a window on the south wall of the room. Then he said, when I came in, the fire was over there and on the ceiling. We then left the room and walked through the hall entrance to the living room. Upon entering the living room, Mr. Willingham looked through a door leading to a bedroom, and then stated, I see they took the sheets off the bed. Maybe they can tell if my daughter was in the bed with me. Okay. This is 24 hours, 28 hours after the fire. We haven't been told anything. We don't know how the fire, nothing. I don't even think they had come in and started anything, or if they had, I'm not sure. But we didn't know anything. We just assumed, actually I can't even tell you what I assumed. I don't remember if we thought maybe the girls were all in the room or what. And I remember Todd even saying something at one point that someone told him that Amber was found by a Christmas tree. I remember him saying that for some reason. I don't know why. But we didn't know anything. But Todd, Amber was found in our bed. And he says, maybe they can tell if my daughter was in the bed with me. Why would you even say that because that's where she was found? I don't know. I just find that strange. Todd seemed to know a lot of things that was going on before anyone else, so probably because he did the things. When we then walked into the bedroom, which he was talking about, and he turned and looked back towards the living room door leading to the entrance hallway and stated, I tried to go out that way, but the heat and smoke was too bad. He then turned back to another door pointing towards it and stated, I went through there to the kitchen. It was very hot and smoky in there. When we then walked into the back room where he began looking for what he said was a $70 dart set. He stated, I think kids probably got in here and stole my darts and dartboard. We then walked back to the front door entrance hallway where we met James Palos. While standing in the hallway, Mr. Willingham commented that he had been over earlier and had gotten a large bottle of British Sterling cologne from the bathroom and poured the contents on the floor. On the floor, the bathroom to the room where the twins had died. And that's crazy too, because he says here, I just realized, where the twins had died. But we didn't know yet if any of where the girls were found at all. But yet he mentions Amber about being in the bed, and that's where she was found. And the twins were only found in the room. So he said he did this because the twins loved the smell of cologne. He also told Palos, if you get any more samples from the floor, it will have the cologne in it. Like covering up something. Okay, and for one thing, the twins liked his cologne. The twins didn't like no colognes. The twins were 1 year up. They were one. They turned one on December 18th, And Todd killed him on December 23rd. So they didn't even walk. They knew 3 words: Mama, Daddy, and no. So that wasn't true. No twins liked cologne. But when Todd was arrested, me, him, and his lawyer got paperwork. So did the prosecutors and all the evidence, all the statements, everything. Everything, we all got the same. So we're supposed to read through our stuff and look everything over. If something didn't seem right, point it out. So I was reading through all this thick of paperwork, and I came across a picture. And it just stopped me, because I'm looking at that picture, and it's an evidence picture of where the accelerant was poured on the floor where it was found. So the picture was this. This is our house. This is the front door. So the accelerant was poured here and here. This wasn't the first time I've seen this pattern. First time I seen the pattern was less than 24 hours after my daughters were murdered, when Todd led me, his mom, and dad back in that burned house and walked to that bathroom and grabbed that cologne and came down to the hallway, taking that cologne over his shoulder this way, come to the door, and went into the girls' room. Same pattern. I was standing here, and Eugenia was standing here. We were bawling. Todd's dad was standing here yelling, "Boy, don't you do that. They're still investigating this." But back and forth from the bathroom, I thought my heart was going to stop when I found this picture and that evidence, because I knew I'd seen this pattern before. The day Todd walked me back in that burn house. And I did bring this up to Todd, and he just denied it. He always denied. There was so many things I brought up to Todd about before he went to the trial, and I was trying to get a divorce from Todd. But even the part where telling me the kids that he never tried to save them after coming up with this big story. There was another time I got up and I left. It's just every time I turned around, it was something. But Todd always wrote that letter and had explanations for everything. Just believe me, just believe me. But anyways, I wanted to share this because Todd came up with a story before he was put in that ambulance, while that house was still on fire. My daughter's in it. And then, within 24 hours, poured cologne the same spot that stuff was poured to set the fire? Really, people? Come on. Anyways, I just wanted to point that out. And I know I had someone on my YouTube saying, read the letters, don't explain them. This is my YouTube channel. If you don't like it, hit that button and go to another channel. I said, because I have let these people speak and speak and speak. And I've just tried to live a life of peace. I have spoke up back in 2004 about what Todd did. I went on to a TV station telling everyone what Todd did. 2004, 2 months after he died. 2009, I made a statement for everyone to know what Todd did. Even went into detail, word by word, what Todd said to me. Then I went down to Austin with my lawyer because they were trying to exonerate Todd. And I stood on the steps of that courthouse and made a statement. So I have been trying to tell my story. It's just, who's not listening or who doesn't want to hear me? That's the more important thing. I think it's not that, I think they hear me, they just don't want to hear me. Because like I said, this is all about abolishing the death penalty. Only thing is, they need to find someone else, because Cameron Todd Willingham murdered my daughters, not his. Because when he set that house on fire, he lost his rights to call himself a dad. And that's my opinion.